Hi everyone, welcome to our interview session. My name is Afreen and I have 5+ years of experience in IT and data science. So today we have Alankar Gupta with us, and he will be sharing his interview experience with EY and how he cracked his interview about career transition into data science and so on. And he will also be sharing tips and tricks about transitioning into this domain. So stay tuned for this series. So, hi Alankar. So, I hope you are doing well.
Hi,
How
Afrin.
are
Thank
you?
you. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So, how is the COVID situation there? Like, how is your life going with this COVID situation?
Yeah, we have adjusted to the new normal. Working from home, it is little challenging because we are not physically present with our stakeholders, and it is a little challenging to maintain that company culture and the warmth we share within office. But yes, we are used to it now, and
Yeah,
life is going on. We are delivering projects, getting challenging projects in COVID, and yeah, all things are good.
nice to hear that. So, Alankar, if you just can introduce yourself about your background, your schooling, your engineering background, and all, and your experience in different companies, then it'll be really helpful for our viewers to understand your background, and they can also relate their background with yours. So, yeah.
Sure. Thank you. My name is Alankar Gupta. I have total 8 years of experience now. I started my career back in 2013. I have a BTech degree in computer science from West Bengal University of Technology, and I started my career with Cognizant Technology Solutions. Um, Initially, I had a career with testing domain. Initial 1 year into manual testing, and then after 1.5 years, I moved to big data testing, where I was writing some Hive queries and fetching a lot of data, um, uh, primarily working with Apache Spark. But again, into the testing domain, so not much of hands-on into development projects. But slowly from there, I got to understand the world of data science and big data technologies, and I thought of moving from the testing to the development side. After 4 years of my stint with Cognizant, where I was in Calcutta, and then I moved to Bangalore, joined a startup called Milvik Technology Services, and worked there for 1 year as data analyst. There, I was primarily working with data side of data science, which is very much important in our whole data science journey. As we all know that in the entire data science life cycle, we have 60 to 70% of the time dedicated towards data cleaning, data analysis, and data exploration, and probably 20% of it is more or less is data science. And then we have at the end the UI and the dashboarding part, or some people call it visualization part.
Yeah.
So that 1 year into back in 2018 and 17 as well, where I was working as a data analyst, I got to know how to deal with large amount of data,
Mhm.
primarily getting data from APIs, where you have streams of data like millions and millions of data, how to configure them, how to store them, how to analyze them, how can this data can be used in a data science product, and we can use it to create models.
Mhm.
After my stint 1 year with Milvik, I moved to AT&T, where I was working with the telecom data and customer success and customer complaint analysis. Worked there for an year, and then I moved to EY. It's been 2 years. I'm with EY. I'm currently a senior data analyst with assistant manager role. I am working as an individual contributor, and gladly so, I have been working as an individual contributor for the past 4 years now. And I have learned a lot about data science being an individual contributor, like how to create a product from the scratch until the deployment phase, creating a lot of proof of concepts for our client, and then eventually, if the uh, proof of concept is healthy enough, we move it to the production life cycle and then deploy it to our end customers and then our clients. So this is how my journey has been. Currently, I'm working with EY, into text analytics, majorly into NLP, deep learning, lately using a lot of BERT and RNN and other deep learning technologies.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's all about myself.
Oh, that's quite a journey, Alankar. So thank you for sharing your experience. So Alankar, what is your roles and responsibilities in EY? Like what daily work you do, what kind of work you do, how much data science work is involved over there? So as you have already mentioned that you're working as an assistant manager. So what kind of work you are doing there as
Mhm.
an assistant manager?
Sure. So as an assistant manager, my task is to create data science project for our products for our client, for our internal EY analyst who are a research analyst, and EY is as a whole publishing a lot of thought leadership reports and analyzing a lot of domains and all new technologies. And my task is to create products from end to end. So uh, a typical day starts with whenever I have a product idea, or our team has a product idea, or our client has a product idea, we try to materialize this into a product, create a tangible product, and showcase this our client. It starts with data curation phase, where you curate the data. The data can be from internal stakeholders like our analyst, and from other third party sources, or from external data vendors who basically sell those data to us, and we are basically the clients to those companies. Some of them are like Refinitiv, which provides financial data, which provides company reports. You have Dow Jones, which provides news articles to organizations like us, and these data are huge, humongous amount of
Mm,
data, like millions of data, streamlined data. So once we get that data, we have to write API queries in Python, and then we fetch those data and store this in our database, and then we start analyzing it. So after once the data curation part is done, we start with data engineering part and the data analysis part. In the data engineering part, we try to transform our data from a raw format to a human readable or a machine readable format. We clean it, we perform all sort of exploratory data analysis to find out which data is required for our analysis and which is not.
mm,
So this is how we do it, and this majorly takes 50% of our project timeline. Say for example, if I'm creating a small proof of concept,
mm,
before creating a full project, if say for example proof of concept will take 1 month of time, then 2.5 uh, weeks of time is basically into this data curation, engineering, exploration. Probably 1 week of time will create a quick modeling. Whether, say for example, if I give you a news classification model which we
mm,
have created, which fetches data from external data vendors in millions, and then it provides you triggered categories of news articles. Okay, so these are the ones talking about joint ventures, these are the ones talking about, say, spin-offs and partnerships and electric vehicles and all. So we have a list of labeled categories. So we create our own models.
mm,
It might be traditional models. At times traditional models are very powerful, we use that. If traditional models are not that useful, we move to majorly into deep learning models. We used BERT, we used RNN, simple RNN, and so on. So it probably takes a week or so, and then comes the UI part. In the UI part, we can create a simple Power BI dashboard which can showcase the result. Or if
mm,
we want a, a better version of the UI, we probably create a website which is hosted in, say for example, in Azure, and the user will have a tangible output through a React UI, or we can say JavaScript UI, as and when required.
mhm, mhm. Okay, okay. So from whatever we have understood, so the majority of the task is mainly involved. More time we give to data curation and data cleaning
Yes.
part, and then we move on to eventually model building and
Yeah.
then deployment part, right?
Yeah.
So 80% of our time is, as you said, we give our 80% of the time to data cleaning and data fetching part.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
so Alankar, as you already have mentioned that you have made a career transition from testing domain to data science domain. So I would like to ask you one thing, like, was it very difficult, or or what would you recommend to those people, if there are people in testing domain and they are very skeptical about, like, moving into data science domain? I think they can take you as a very good example how you have made your career transition from manual testing to now your role is assistant manager and you are handling a data science team as a whole, and you
Mhm.
worked as an individual contributor. So it's not like a testing guy or a testing person who is working in some company, they cannot move into data science. So what would be your suggestion, how difficult it was, your journey?
Yes, so I typically answer this question saying that you should have the zeal to learn. It doesn't matter from if you are from testing, you are from product engineering, or you are from a different UI background,
Mm.
or rather you are purely a non-technical person. If you want to switch to this role, data science as a whole, or machine learning as a whole, you have to have the zeal to learn new technologies. Python as a whole, I believe, is a very simple programming language. It is not like very complex like Java. You don't have to write a lot of lines of codes to execute a program, just like
Mm.
Java or any other programs like C++. But Python is very easy. If you can understand English, I will probably say you will also understand Python. So my transition was that I internally looked out for opportunities. If there were any opportunities, I talked to my manager, and that is how I moved to a big data testing profile from manual profile. And from there I slowly transitioned myself to development role, where I understand more about the databases and how the data is processed, and how can I build a model on top of it, how can I deploy it either on Google Cloud or AWS or Azure, and there are other platforms as well. We can exploit those situations. So for me it was looking out for opportunities internally, and parallelly also upskilling myself. I remember when I started learning about this in back in 2014, there were not lot of materials available. Unlike today, we have a lot of materials which are available in
Lot of
YouTube.
resources, yeah.
Yes, resources available on Udemy, on YouTube, and there are a lot of blogs written all over the internet. So it was a little difficult initially, but the difficulty was on understanding new technologies, and it will be with anyone who wants to switch to this role. But this will be probably, I will say, 2 or 3 months of task where they will acclimatize themselves with the new technologies within, say, Python, visualization tools like Power BI. They can learn traditional machine learning algorithms, and slowly transition themselves to deep learning as a whole.
Yeah. So it's something that is not like, that is not doable or something like that. It's not like that. Even if you are from a non-programming background, but if you have that passion, as you said, that Python is very simple. So if you are skeptic about learning, that you won't be able to learn programming language, that is a myth. Like, it is not like that. It's a very, very simple language, and the amount of programming we need in data science, it is comparatively less.
Yes, that's
So
right. That's right. I
yeah.
have seen people from economics background and mathematics background switching to data science, and they are doing very well, pretty well. I have few colleagues who are from purely a non-technical background, but they are excelling themselves, and that's quite encouraging.
Yeah, nice. It's a very good thing to hear, because lots of people, they think that from testing domain or from some other domain, it's very difficult for them to switch into data science. They might take some little longer time, but it's
Yes,
not that they cannot do it. They can
that's
easily
right.
do it. The course which can be done, a computer science student or who are aware of this programming world, they can do this in 6 months. Maybe the people who are coming from testing background or mechanical or electrical background, they can do it within 9 months. But
Yeah,
it's just a matter of time, and I'm just giving a rough estimation, and like, this is how it works, like it is doable.
that's right. Absolutely, it's doable.
So Alankar, along with that, I'll ask you one thing. Like, as we discussed that we can do data science. Anyone who is passionate about data science. So I would like to ask you one more question. That is data science for all. Like, everyone can learn data science, or how would you answer this question? Like, data science for whom?
Um, if so, there are two answers to it. One is, yes, data science is for all as long as you are interested in this domain. So it is not like you have to push yourself to data science and there is nothing except data science in this world. But if you are keen on understanding data, you are good with crunching numbers, you are good with creating models which will probably predict what's going to happen in the near future, then data science is for you. But apart from that, with data science, I would say there are a lot of fields which are opened up right now. I would say DevOps is there, UI is there. Eventually, these are all clubbed together with the data science product world. And if someone has a real zeal in creating, good looking applications, he or she can move to UI part. But if you are specifically looking into data as a whole, you are very much fascinated by data, then data science is for you, and you can give it a try. And it's not that tough to learn data science. Eventually, it will take some time to learn the new concepts, but you will be there within 2 or 3 months.
Alankar, I mean, you have already answered this, but again, I'm asking you because I would like to know what would be your suggestion to the aspiring data scientists. I mean, how should they start? What should they do, and all? Because as you said, there are lots of resources, so sometimes it is little bit confusing for can be little bit confusing for them
Mhm.
because lots of resources are there. Where should they go? How should they start? So they are very bit. It's very clumsy. So if you can just elaborate the things.
Sure. So to answer that, a lot of resources are available on YouTube as a whole. Uh, and if if you look into other skill-based portals, there are a lot of tutorials available, and you will basically get the guidance from there. But if someone is wants to get into a discipline of learning, he or she can join a small course which has a followed curriculum designed by industry experts. Why I say industry experts? Because they will get to know what's really being what is really present in the market, and what type of projects are there in the market. How are we dealing with real life situations with in the data science domain, and this eventually help someone to create a discipline with their learning. Because at times we have seen or the colleagues who are working in this field, when they try to upskill themselves, if they try to learn from YouTube or any other self-based learning platforms, the problem is lack of discipline. And to answer that, we should join, or one should join a course curriculum which follows a particular pattern and is within a stipulated time period.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with you because as you have already talked about it, industry experts are really important. Their guidance is really important. Like I myself have worked in e-commerce and retail, so I cannot go and teach about BFSI. Obviously, I can because it's ultimately it's a machine learning algorithm,
Yes,
but my domain is e-commerce, so I can talk more about e-commerce, more about retail. Likewise, your domain is something else, so you can talk about that in a very detailed way, which
yes,
I cannot.
right,
So yeah, industry experts help is really very important
right,
if someone is really want to switch into data science domain. So
right.
it's correct. So, Alankar, I hope you must be taking lots of interviews. And so I would like to ask you one thing, like, what do you see in candidate? Do you prefer certification above their knowledge or their project experience? Or how would you judge? Like, is certification really a matter in data science?
Yes, a very good question, I would say. Yeah, it depends on the role. Say, for example, if I'm hiring for a data science position, certification doesn't really matter. If it is good to have a data science certification, but what really matters is the technical abilities. He or she should be, proficient with a basic to intermediate level of Python, machine learning. If it is for a deep learning project, then basic of deep learning is required. We generally focus on if the candidate has experience into real life product applications, if he or she has done a lot of good projects with data science as a whole. But if I'm hiring for, say, a deployment engineer, I would prefer someone who has, say, if my requirement is into Google Cloud, I would prefer someone who has Google Cloud experience, certification, AWS certification, Azure certification. We have IBM certification as well. So it all depends on project to project. Apart from that, it is also required if I'm hiring for a particular domain, say, for example, pharma domain. I would prefer people having experience or background in pharma. Likewise, if I am hiring for BCM, banking and capital management, I would require an experience into BCM. To answer the question, yes, certification is necessary if it is into deployment side. But if it is into core machine learning, say a data scientist position or a junior data scientist position, we generally don't give much importance to certification, but it's good to have.
Okay. So first we should focus on our knowledge. Like I
Yes.
have lots of certification, but I'm not able to explain a proper, I mean, one project properly, then it is a discredit, I would say.
Yeah. Yes.
Rather, your knowledge is the thing which will, in the long run, will help you, and then comes certification, right? It's
That's
a
right.
support.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
Alankar, I would like to know, like, if you can elaborate this part as well, because data science is a combination of programming, statistics, mathematics, right? So, how much mathematics is required in data science, and how much programming is required in data science? Which one is more important? I'm not saying that more important, less important, but the thing is, which comes first? So, if you can elaborate this whole thing as a whole, then that will be great.
Yes. So to answer this question, I would say 20 to 25% is only programming, because if you look into any data science product lifecycle, there is not much programming involved. Even if it is required, it is very basic to intermediate, I would say. You don't need to be an expert Python developer to be into data science field. What is required is an understanding of mathematics, because eventually if you see all these machine learning algorithms and deep learning algorithms comes from with a background of mathematics. So you should be able to understand data. So it is important to understand statistics. But again, this is basic to intermediate level. And mathematics as a whole, it requires a little bit of algebra, um, um, a bit of differentiation, integration, but that's not much tough, I would say. The major part is to understand the domain, the domain for which you are solving the problem. So if you are building a product, a data science product for, say, pharma, you should understand what this entire question is all about. What is that you are answering? And for that, you need to understand the data and the domain as well. So why it is important, why we are performing this particular set of tasks to eventually, which will eventually lead us to this output. So mathematics is required, but again, basic to intermediate. Coding is required, basic to intermediate. A high level understanding of domain is required. This is all about, this is what I can say. And to be a very successful data scientist or a machine learning engineer, you should have the capability to understand the business problem and answer it through technical expertise. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So as you said, like domain expertise is the mantra here. Like
Yeah.
if I'm going for a pharma company or pharma industry, I should have a proper knowledge, or I should gain the knowledge from someone who has that knowledge.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is really a very good point to highlight. So, Alankar, how many rounds of interviews were there in EY when you interviewed for your position? How many rounds were there? So, how was the interview process?
Yeah, so I had to face 4 rounds of interview. It started with a technical interview, which consisted of statistics, Python, and a bit of Excel plus Power BI to visualize my data. Um, so the first round basically consisted of, I would say, 30 questions. 10 from statistics, 10 from advanced Excel skills, and 10 from my core experience into the domains, which was machine learning and data science. Once that round was clear, I moved into the next round, which was again a face-to-face technical round where I was given use cases and asked a lot of questions related to deep learning and machine learning and different tools I have worked. I have also received some use cases which I need to solve either through Python or any other programming language, which I did. The third one was a business round where there was a real life problem discussed and how I approached a solution to how I approached a question towards a solution. Obviously, there was no perfect answer to it, but it all depends on how we approach and how we um, provide the right set of answers, which is justified as a solution. Once that was clear, the last round was director round where it was more of a fitment test, just to check how I will be a good fit to that organization chart and what are my roles and responsibility. If I am okay with that, if I have any questions related to the roles and responsibilities. So these were the 4 rounds of interview I had. Initial 2 rounds were hardcore technical rounds, and the next 2 rounds were more into the managerial round.
Okay. So total 4 rounds of 4 rounds were conducted by EY, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, with that we have almost reached to the end of our interview session, Alankar. So at the end, if you can just give us some tips and tricks, some suggestions, some tips to the aspiring data scientist, because I think your guidance will help them a lot, and you yourself is an example for everyone, because you have made a very good career transition. You have talked about your journey as well in a very detailed way. So I think you have already covered everything, but just last, if you just can give us some tips and tricks, like how to make a smooth transition.
Sure. So I would say focus on the key skills. It can be one programming language. You can choose any programming language you want. Python is the hot one, so you can choose Python or you can use R as a programming language. Use your experience, whatever you have in your background, and try to create projects around that. Try to solve a lot of questions related to SQL, how to process the data, how to perform ETL, certain ETL tasks. You can learn visualization tools where it can be Tableau or Power BI, just to showcase your results after the machine learning model. And obviously you have to also learn a bit of machine learning. It can be the traditional machine learning algorithms, it can be classification models, it can be clustering models, it can be reinforcement models. You can also have deep learning models in your project. It will give you a good understanding of the whole product life cycle. You can also learn a bit of NLP, because data analytics and text analytics both are important if you want to be into the data science domain. If you want to be on the deployment side, you can learn cloud technologies. It can be on Azure, Google Cloud, AWS. A certification will help you to get into the DevOps profile of data science. And yes, data science is a great learning journey. You will have a lot of things to learn. I myself have learned a lot of things in this data science journey. I was not a UI developer, but I have to eventually spin off a UI for my machine learning project. And yes, I learned it within 3 to 4 weeks, and the product as a whole was a tremendous success. I learned a lot of visualization tools to showcase my client, because at times it is very much important to showcase your data in terms of visualization. So yes, these are some of the tips and tricks, and do brush up your basics before going for an interview. Be confident, be 100% true to yourself, and focus on the end result.
Yeah, Alankar. So I think you have shown us, I mean, almost everything. You have highlighted all the key points where we should focus and what we should do before going to the interview, and how much mathematics or programming is required. So I think your this interview session is going to inspire a lot of candidates, and I think they can take you as example and they can start their journey, like those who were skeptic about their journey towards data science. Thank you, Alankar, for sharing all these valuable tips and tricks. I think and I hope your this journey and your story will inspire a lot of candidates, aspiring data scientists. And I would like to thank you for helping us with content creation. And I know and I have that confidence that your domain expertise will help a lot of candidates who will be joining our Tutort Academy. So thank you so much for helping us with that. And with this, we are just wrapping up. So stay tuned for further videos. Bye.
Thank you, Afrin. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.